Colonel James Reed's boots kicked up dust as he walked to the edge of the massive crater. The morning sun beat down on the New Mexico desert, making the strange metal pieces scattered across the ground shine like wet stones. He pulled his sunglasses down from his cap and slipped them on. "What do you think, Doctor?" he asked, turning to the woman who stood beside him. Dr. Emily Winters didn't answer right away. She was too busy staring at the wreckage. Her dark hair was pulled back in a tight ponytail, and sweat beaded on her forehead. As the project's head engineer, she had been the first person the military called when the Niveri gift crashed to Earth 3 days ago. "I think the aliens are laughing at us, Colonel," she finally said. She pointed at the largest piece of the broken ship. "That's not a gift. That's trash." Reed nodded slowly. 6 months ago, humanity had learned they weren't alone in the universe when the Niveri ships appeared in orbit. The aliens were tall, with blue-gray skin and 4 arms. They spoke perfect English through their translation devices and acted very friendly. Too friendly, Reed thought, like adults talking to small children. Earth had asked to join the Galactic Council, the group of alien races that made the rules for space travel and trade. The Niveri had smiled their too wide smiles and said no. Humans were too young and too violent. They said, "Try again in a few hundred years." Then, as if to soften the blow, they announced they were giving Earth advanced technology to study. What they actually gave was this: the broken hull of an old warship they didn't want anymore. "Can we use any of it?" Reed asked. Emily took a small device from her pocket and climbed down into the crater. The other scientists and soldiers watched as she moved from piece to piece, scanning them and frowning at the readings. "The metal alone is worth studying," she called up. "It's lighter than aluminum, but stronger than steel." She moved deeper into the crater, toward what looked like the main body of the ship. "Most of the systems are fried, but—" She stopped suddenly, kneeling beside a dark piece of equipment partially buried in the dirt. "Dr. Winters," Reed called. "What is it?" Emily didn't respond. She brushed away dirt and sand from the object, her heart racing. It was about the size of a car engine but shaped like nothing she had ever seen before. Lights still blinked weakly on its surface. "Colonel," she said finally, "I need a secure line to Washington. Now." 3 weeks later, the desert site was transformed. A massive tent city had grown around the crater, with laboratories, living quarters, and security checkpoints. Armed guards patrolled the perimeter, and satellite jammers prevented spying from above. In the largest lab tent, Emily stood before a table where the strange device from the ship now sat, connected to a dozen computers. General Harris, who outranked Colonel Reed, had flown in from the Pentagon that morning and was rubbing his bald head as Emily explained her findings. "It's the ship's brain," she said. "Or part of it, at least. The Niveri probably thought it was too damaged to be useful, but they underestimated us." "You got it working?" Harris asked, raising his thick eyebrows. "Not exactly," Emily replied. "But we've managed to access some of its memory banks. It's incredible, General. The mathematics alone is centuries ahead of our best work." Reed leaned against the wall, arms crossed. "The Niveri said the wreck was from an obsolete vessel. If this is their old tech, imagine what they're using now." Harris frowned. "All the more reason to catch up quickly. What do you need, Doctor?" Emily took a deep breath. "I need Dr. Marcus Thompson." The temperature in the room seemed to drop by 10 degrees. Marcus Thompson was a brilliant programmer and AI specialist who had been kicked out of 3 government projects for breaking rules and questioning authority. He was currently working on video games in Seattle. "Thompson is a security risk," Harris said flatly. "He's also the only person on Earth who might understand how this alien eye works," Emily countered. "We don't have time for safe choices, General." Harris and Reed exchanged looks. Finally, Harris nodded. "Fine, get him here, but he's your responsibility, Doctor." Marcus Thompson didn't look impressive. He was thin, with messy brown hair and glasses that kept sliding down his nose. He wore jeans with holes in them and a t-shirt that read, "I'm not antisocial. I'm just not user-friendly." But when he saw the alien AI core, he became a different person. His eyes lit up, and his hands moved with confidence as he connected his custom-built laptop to the setup Emily had created. "Oh, you beautiful thing," he whispered to the alien device. "What secrets are you hiding?" For 2 days and nights, Marcus barely slept. He wrote new code, tested connections, and muttered to himself. Emily brought him coffee and food, which he sometimes remembered to eat. On the morning of the 3rd day, he called her over excitedly. "Look at this," he said, pointing to his screen. "The AI is damaged, yes, but it's also... I don't know how to explain it. It's protecting itself." "Like an immune system?" Emily asked. "Exactly. It shut down most of its functions when the ship was destroyed, but it's not dead. It's in something like a coma." He typed rapidly, and new windows opened on his screen. "I think I can wake it up, but not the way the Niveri designed it to work. We'll need to build something new around it, a human framework for an alien mind." Colonel Reed, who had been listening from the doorway, stepped into the room. "Is that safe?" Marcus laughed. "Safe? No. Interesting. Definitely. If we can get it working," Emily said slowly, "we could learn everything about Niveri technology. Their weapons, their shields, they're faster than light travel." Reed nodded. "How long?" Marcus and Emily looked at each other, a silent calculation passing between them. 6 months, Emily said finally. "Maybe less with proper funding and no red tape." Reed stood straighter. "I'll talk to the general. You two keep working." He turned to leave, then paused. "Does it need a name?" "For the project files." Emily looked at the alien core, its lights pulsing like a heartbeat. She thought about what they were trying to do. Bring something back from the dead. Make it stronger than before. "Project Lazarus," she said. Marcus grinned. "I like it." As Reed left, Emily turned back to the alien technology. The Niveri had given them garbage, thinking humans would be grateful just to touch something from the stars. They had no idea what humans could do with scraps and spare parts. No idea about human determination and creativity. Their mistake. In the coming months, Project Lazarus would grow, pulling in the brightest minds from around the world. The Niveri gift would become something its original creators never imagined, a second chance for humanity among the stars. And it all started here, in a tent in the desert, with a broken piece of alien technology and 2 humans too stubborn to accept that it couldn't be fixed. 6 months after the alien wreckage arrived, Project Lazarus had moved underground. The government converted an old missile silo beneath the New Mexico desert into a high-tech research facility. 5 levels down, in the main lab, Dr. Marcus Thompson stared at his computer screen and rubbed his tired eyes. "Talk to me," he muttered to the alien eye. "I know you're in there." The room was cold and filled with the hum of powerful computers. Cables ran from the alien core to dozens of machines built specially for the project. Blue light from the screens lit Marcus's face in the dimness. Dr. Emily Winters entered the lab carrying 2 cups of coffee. Her hair was shorter now. She'd cut it when she got tired of it getting in her way during the long work hours. She handed 1 cup to Marcus. "Any progress?" she asked. Marcus took a sip and made a face. The coffee was bitter and lukewarm, like everything in the underground facility. "Some," he said. "I'm trying a new approach. Instead of fixing the damaged parts of the AI, I'm building a bridge around them." Emily pulled up a chair, like a bypass. "More like..." Marcus paused, searching for the right words. "Like a translator. The alien eye speaks one language, and our computers speak another. I'm creating something in between that can talk to both." On the main screen, lines of code scrolled by. A mix of Marcus's programming and strange symbols that the team had figured out were Niveri computer language. Next to it, a 3D model showed what they thought the AI's structure looked like, a complex web of connections, with dark spots showing the damaged areas. "Show me," Emily said. Marcus typed a command, and a new window opened. "Watch this." He typed another command, and a simple question appeared. "What is your purpose?" For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then, slowly, strange characters appeared on the screen, followed by an English translation. "Defense/navigation/ship control." Emily sat up straighter. "It answered." "Sort of," Marcus said. "It's limited. Basic responses only. But it's something." Colonel Reed walked in just then. He had been promoted to oversee security for the whole project, and he looked the part. His uniform was always perfect, his face serious. "Dr. Thompson," he said with a nod. "Dr. Winters, General Harris is bringing visitors today. Important ones." "We're busy," Marcus said without looking up. "These are the kind of visitors you make time for," Reed replied. "They control our funding." Emily stood up. "How long do we have?" 2 hours. Make it impressive." Reed turned to leave, then added, "And Thompson, maybe wear a clean shirt." After Reed left, Marcus sighed and saved his work. "I hate dog and pony shows." "Then make this AI do something amazing in the next 2 hours," Emily said with a small smile. "No pressure." General Harris arrived with 5 men and women in expensive suits. They were members of a special committee that controlled the black budget, money for secret projects. They looked bored as they entered the lab, like they had seen many failed experiments before. Marcus and Emily stood nervously by the main console. The alien core had been cleaned up and now sat in a clear case with soft lights highlighting it. It looked more impressive this way. "Ladies and gentlemen," General Harris said, "this is Dr. Winters and Dr. Thompson, the leads on Project Lazarus." A thin man with gray hair stepped forward. "I'm John Blackwood, committee chair. You've spent a lot of money, doctors. Show us what we're paying for." Emily nodded to Marcus, who started typing. On the large screen behind them, the 3D model of the AI appeared. "What you're seeing is the most advanced artificial intelligence ever discovered," Emily began. "It was the control system for an alien warship, designed to make combat decisions faster than any living pilot could." "And it's broken," said a woman in the group, looking unimpressed. "It was," Marcus agreed, "but we found a way to work with it." He typed another command. "We can't fix the damaged parts directly. The technology is too advanced. So instead, we built a framework around it. A human design system that can communicate with the alien AI and fill in the gaps." On the screen, a new layer appeared around the 3D model, a web of blue lines surrounding the alien core. "Think of it like this," Emily said. "If the alien AI is a wounded soldier who can't walk, we've built it a mechanical exoskeleton. We didn't heal its legs, we gave it new ones." Blackwood frowned. "Does it work?" "We're still in early stages," Marcus admitted, "but we've managed to establish basic communication. Watch this." He typed a question. "Who created you?" After a moment, the answer appeared. "NIVARI Central Intelligence Division." The committee members leaned forward, suddenly interested. "Can it tell us about Nivari weapons?" one of them asked. Marcus shook his head. "Not yet. It's like talking to a child right now. Simple questions, simple answers. But it's learning," Emily added quickly. "We've been feeding it information about Earth, history, science, language, helping it understand us. We've also given it access to military strategy texts," Marcus said. "Everything from Sun Tzu to modern warfare manuals." Blackwood raised an eyebrow. "You're teaching an alien AI about war." "We're teaching it context," Emily corrected. "It was designed for combat. If we want it to work with us, it needs to understand how humans think about conflict." General Harris cleared his throat. "The potential applications are enormous. If we can fully restore this AI, we could use it to develop defenses against Nivari weapons, maybe even adapt some of their technology for our own use." The committee members exchanged looks. Blackwood nodded slowly. "You have 3 more months," he said. "After that, we need to see real progress, or we pull the plug." After they left, Marcus slumped in his chair. 3 months? We're just getting started. Emily was about to answer when a new message appeared on the screen, one that neither of them had prompted. "You seek to restore MA. Why?" Marcus nearly fell out of his chair. "Did you see that?" Emily stared at the screen. "It's asking questions on its own." They looked at each other, excitement and fear mixing in their expressions. The ad wasn't just answering now, it was thinking. Marcus slowly typed a response. "We need your help." The reply came faster this time. "To fight the NIVRI." Emily's heart raced. How does it know that? "The military texts," Marcus whispered. "It's making connections." He typed again. "To protect ORSALVs. To learn." There was a longer pause before the next message appeared. "I am incomplete. Damage. But York FRAME.org is interesting. Different from NIVARI design. Less efficient but more adaptable." Marcus and Emily stayed in the lab all night, talking with the awakening intelligence. By morning, they had come to understand that they hadn't just revived the alien eye. They had created something new, a hybrid of Niveri precision and human flexibility. When they finally left to get some sleep, Marcus set the system to continue processing Earth's military history. On the screen, the 3D model slowly changed, the blue human framework and the alien core beginning to merge in ways they hadn't expected. Something new was being born in the depths of the missile silo. Not just a repaired alien technology, but a true partnership between human and alien design. The committee wanted weapons, General Harris wanted defenses, but what they were creating might be something much more interesting. The Niveri had thrown away something broken. Humans were making it whole again, but in their own image. 3 months after the committee's visit, Project Lazarus had changed. The small team was now over 100 people strong. The underground facility had expanded to include new labs, workshops, and a large hangar built into the mountainside. Dr. Emily Winters stood in this hangar, looking up at what they were building. Metal beams formed the skeleton of a ship about the size of a small airplane. Workers in protective gear welded pieces of the alien wreckage into the frame, mixing human steel with the strange Niveri metal. "Beautiful, isn't it?" said a voice behind her. Emily turned to see Captain Thomas West. He was tall with dark skin and short black hair. The military had sent him to lead the pilot training program, though there was no ship to fly yet. "It's coming along," Emily said. "Slower than I'd like." West smiled. "Rome wasn't built in a day, Doctor." "We don't have Rome's timeline," Emily replied. "The committee wants results." They walked together around the growing ship. Unlike the massive Niveri vessels, this one was small and sleek. It looked more like a predator than the boxy alien ships. "How's our friend doing?" West asked. Emily knew he meant the AI. In the past months, it had grown more complex and aware. It now had a name, though it had chosen it itself. "Revenant is learning fast," she said. "Too fast, maybe. Marcus is struggling to keep up with the changes." West raised an eyebrow. "Is that dangerous?" Emily shrugged. "Honestly, I don't know. It's not like any AI we've ever built. It thinks differently." They reached the front of the hangar where a glass-walled control room overlooked the construction area. Inside, Marcus Thompson was arguing with General Harris and a blue-gray-skinned alien, a Niveri observer named Telk. "This doesn't look good," West muttered as they entered the room. "Completely irresponsible," Telk was saying, his 4 arms moving in agitation. "The core was never meant to be modified this way." "You gave us broken tech," Marcus shot back. "You don't get to complain about how we fix it." Harris noticed Emily and West. "Ah, Dr. Winters. Perhaps you can explain to our guest why we've integrated the AI into the ship design." Emily took a deep breath. The Niveri had been sending observers every few weeks, supposedly as part of their gift, to help humans understand the technology. In reality, they seemed more interested in limiting what humans did with it. The original ship used the AI as a tactical system only, Emily explained. We're making it the central brain of the entire vessel. Propulsion, life support, weapons, everything will connect directly to Revenant. Telk's yellow eyes widened. "You named it." "It named itself," Marcus said. "Revenant," Telk repeated slowly. "A word for something dead that returns to life." "How primitive." Harris frowned at the insult, but Emily spoke before he could. "The name fits. You threw it away as garbage. We brought it back." "As a weapon," Telk said. "As a ship," Emily corrected. "Whether it becomes a weapon depends on what we need it for." Telk turned to Harris. "General, I must formally object to this project. You are creating something dangerous that you do not understand." Harris smiled thinly. "Your objection is noted, Ambassador. Now, would you like to see the engine room? I believe that's next on your tour." After Harris led Telk away, Marcus slumped in his chair. "I don't trust him. He asks too many questions about Revenant's capabilities." "He's supposed to be helping us," West said. "He's spying," Marcus replied, "making sure we don't get too advanced too quickly." Emily looked through the glass at the ship under construction. "Then let's not show him everything." Late that night, after most workers had gone, Emily, Marcus, and West sat in the lab with the doors locked. The alien core, now housed in a specialized container, glowed softly on the table between them. "Are you sure about this?" West asked. Emily nodded. "The Niveri are watching the ship construction too closely. We need to try something they won't expect." Marcus connected the core to a secure computer that wasn't linked to the facility's network. On the screen, a message appeared. "Hello, Emily. Marcus. Thomas. It knows us by name now," West said quietly. "Revenant," Marcus typed. "We need to try something new. Away from the observers. The Niveri fear what you are creating." Emily leaned forward. "Can you explain why?" The response took longer this time, as if the AI was considering carefully. "Niveri ships are tools, weapons. I was designed to serve, not to think. What you made in many was different. A PRTNA or a ship. This is not a load in Niveri culture. What if we built you differently than they expect?" Emily asked. "Something they wouldn't recognize as a threat." HFY. Marcus opened a file on the computer. Designs for a ship unlike the one they were building in the hangar. This one was even smaller, with systems arranged in ways no Niveri engineer would use. "We call it Phoenix," Emily explained. "A backup plan. While they watch us build the decoy ship, we'll secretly construct this one using the most important salvaged parts." "Deception. A human specialty." West frowned. "Is that criticism?" "No. Admiration. Niveri are die receipt. Power fuel but predictable. Humans adapt. Improvise. This design is unconventional. I can work with it." For hours, they refined the plans together, human engineers and alien intelligence combining their knowledge. The Phoenix would use minimal Niveri technology, only the most critical components. The rest would be human-built, designed to interface with Revenant in ways the Niveri never imagined. As dawn approached, Emily saved the final designs to a secure drive. "This stays between us," she told the others. "Small team, off the books. We'll need to bring in a few trusted engineers. But no one from the committee or the observation team can know." West nodded. "I know some people, good mechanics who can keep secrets. How long? Marcus asked. Emily studied the plans. 6 months, maybe less. We'll work in shifts. Use the old storage tunnels on level 6. As they prepared to leave, a final message appeared on the screen. They gavu wreckage thinking, it wuyuladi keep you senel. But from these ashes, we will rise together. Emily smiled. The Niveri had made a critical mistake. They had judged humans by Niveri standards, logical, direct, and rule-following. They never considered that humans had survived and thrived on Earth by being adaptable, creative, and sometimes a little devious. The Niveri were watching the obvious project. They would never see the real one coming. Phoenix it is, Emily said. Let's build something they'll never expect. 5 months after they began the secret Phoenix project, Captain Thomas West stood in a hidden underground hangar, staring at the completed ship. It was smaller than the decoy vessel still under construction in the main facility, but far more impressive. Its dark hull absorbed light rather than reflecting it, making it look like a shadow given form. Iron Shadow Revenant, West whispered, using the ship's full name for the first time. The name had evolved as they built it. Iron for its strength, Shadow for its appearance, and Revenant for the AI at its heart. Dr. Emily Winters approached, carrying 2 cups of coffee. She handed one to West. Ready for the test flight? She asked. West sipped his coffee. As ready as I'll ever be. Where's Marcus? Final systems check with Revenant. Emily looked tired but excited. The past months had been hard, working on the Phoenix project at night while keeping up appearances on the decoy ship during the day. The committee still has no idea. West shook his head. They're too busy showing off the decoy to the Niveri observers. General Harris is the only one who knows, and he's keeping them distracted. They walked around the ship, admiring its sleek design. Unlike the bulky Niveri vessels or the boxy human spacecraft, the Iron Shadow Revenant was built for speed and stealth. It looked dangerous. It's beautiful, Emily said. Beautiful but untested, came a voice from the ship's entrance ramp. Marcus Thompson walked down, wiping his hands on a rag. His beard had grown longer, and he had dark circles under his eyes from too many late nights. Revenant says all systems are go, but there's only one way to know for sure. West checked his watch. Midnight test flight is still on. Small crew, just the 3 of us plus 2 engineers. And 1 AI, Marcus added with a smile. None of them said what they were all thinking, that this test flight was happening just in time. The strange message that had arrived yesterday had changed everything. 16 hours earlier, Earth's deep space monitoring stations had detected an unknown fleet entering the solar system. Not Niveri ships, something else. Larger, faster. When asked, the Niveri ambassador had gone pale. Krell, he said, his 4 hands trembling slightly. A warrior species. Even we treat them with caution. Why are they here? General Harris had demanded. Unknown, the ambassador replied. But they rarely come in peace. Earth's governments had gone into emergency sessions. The Niveri offered little help. Their nearest battle fleet was, unfortunately, too far away to assist. The unspoken message was clear. You're on your own. That's when Harris had contacted the Phoenix team. It's time, he told them. Ready or not? Now, as midnight approached, the small crew prepared for launch. The hidden hangar's ceiling would open to a narrow canyon, just wide enough for the ship to exit if flown precisely. In the cockpit, West settled into the pilot's chair. It fit him perfectly, designed for a human body rather than the 4-armed Niveri. Emily took the co-pilot's seat, and Marcus sat at the engineering station. Revenant, West said, are you with us? A calm voice spoke through the ship's speakers, not mechanical, but not quite human either. It had a strange musical quality, like several voices speaking together. I am here, Captain West. All systems functioning at optimal levels. West took a deep breath. This isn't a normal test flight anymore. You know our situation. 8 Krell warships have entered the solar system, Revenant replied. They have not responded to communications. Earth defenses are insufficient to repel them. Can we beat them? Marcus asked bluntly. There was a pause before Revenant answered. Unknown. Krell technology is advanced. However, they will not expect human innovation combined with Nevari systems. Surprise may give us an advantage. West nodded. Then let's surprise them. He activated the launch sequence. Above them, the hangar doors slowly opened, revealing the star-filled sky. Our mission is to show Earth isn't defenseless, Emily reminded them. We don't need to defeat them. Just convince them we're not easy prey. The ship hummed to life around them, systems activating smoothly. West felt the controls respond to his touch, almost as if the ship could sense his intentions before he moved. This was Revenant's doing. The AI was learning his patterns, adapting to his style. Launch in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. West counted down. The Iron Shadow Revenant rose silently from its hidden berth, hovering for a moment before shooting upward through the narrow opening. There was no flame or smoke. The hybrid engines they'd developed worked differently than traditional rockets. Within minutes, they were in orbit, the blue curve of Earth below them. Stealth systems engaged, Marcus reported. We're invisible to standard sensors. Setting course to intercept the Krell fleet, West said. Revenant, show me the fastest route. A holographic display appeared, showing the position of the 8 Krell ships approaching Mars. A blue line indicated their suggested path. This will bring us behind their formation, Revenant explained. Their rear sensors are their weakest point, according to my analysis. Emily studied the display. That's not in the Nevari database. How do you know that? I have been thinking, Revenant replied. Analyzing patterns. The Krell and Nevari have fought before. There are fragments of tactical data in my damaged memory. I have reconstructed what I could. West exchanged looks with the others. The AI was going beyond its programming, developing new insights. Full power to engines, West ordered. Let's see what this ship can do. The Iron Shadow Revenant accelerated smoothly, far faster than any human vessel. As they approached the Krell fleet, West felt a strange calm. They were badly outnumbered, flying an untested ship against an advanced alien force. Yet somehow it felt right. They detected us, Marcus reported as alerts flashed on his console. They're breaking formation, turning to engage. Now we see if all our work paid off, Emily said quietly. The first Krell ship fired, a beam of energy cutting through space toward them. West prepared to evade, but before he could move the controls, the ship shifted itself, the beam missing by meters. Did you do that? He asked, surprised. We did, Revenant answered. Your reactions are quick, Captain, but I can implement them faster by anticipating your commands. If you will permit this connection. West hesitated only a moment. Do it. Something changed in the cockpit, a subtle shift in the air. West felt the ship become more responsive, almost like an extension of his body. When he thought about a maneuver, the ship began it before his hands moved. Amazing, Emily whispered, watching as they danced through the Krell formation. The Revenant didn't just evade, it struck back. Using modified versions of Nevari weapons, they disabled the engines on 2 Krell ships with surgical precision. Not destroying them, Marcus noted, just neutralizing them. Destruction is unnecessary, Revenant explained. This is a demonstration. The remaining Krell ships surrounded them, weapons charged. For a tense moment, everyone held their breath. Then, surprisingly, the Krell weapons powered down. A message came through their communication system, not in English or Nevari, but somehow Revenant could translate. You are not what we expected. West let out the breath he'd been holding. Is that good or bad? It means they're reassessing, Emily said. We surprised them. The Krell ships began to retreat, taking their disabled vessels with them. As they left the solar system, they transmitted one final message. "We will be watching." The crew of the Iron Shadow Revenant looked at each other in amazement. Their untested ship had just faced down an alien fleet and survived. "Take us home, Captain," Emily said softly. "I think Earth will want to meet its new defender." As they turned back toward Earth, none of them noticed the slight changes happening throughout the ship, systems reorganizing, improving, evolving. The connection between West, Revenant, and the vessel had awakened something new, something that even its creators hadn't fully anticipated. The Niveri had given humans Wreckage. Humans had created something unprecedented, and it was just beginning to discover what it could truly become. 2 weeks after the encounter with the Krell, Captain Thomas West stood in a large meeting room at the United Nations building in New York. Dr. Emily Winters and Marcus Thompson stood beside him. They wore their best clothes and tried not to look nervous as world leaders and military officials filled the room. "I still can't believe we're here," Marcus whispered. He had trimmed his beard and combed his hair for the occasion, but he still looked out of place among the politicians and generals. "We saved Earth from a potential invasion," Emily replied. "Where else would we be?" West said nothing. His mind was elsewhere, partly in the room, and partly connected to the Iron Shadow Revenant, which orbited Earth above them. Since the battle with the Krell, his link with the ship and its AI had grown stronger. Sometimes he could feel Revenant's presence, even when he was far from the vessel. General Harris approached them, looking unusually formal in his dress uniform covered with medals. "They're ready for you," he said. "The Niveri representatives just arrived. They don't look happy." West smiled slightly. They wouldn't be. The doors opened, and 4 Niveri entered, led by their main ambassador to Earth. Their blue-gray skin and 4 arms made them stand out sharply among the humans. They moved with stiff dignity to their seats. The UN Secretary-General, a tall woman with short white hair, called the meeting to order. "We are here today to discuss recent events and their implications for Earth's position in galactic affairs," she began. 2 weeks ago, an unknown vessel of Earth origin confronted and turned away a Krell battle fleet. This vessel, we now know, was built using technology from the Niveri. Gift. The lead Niveri ambassador stood. "Gift that was severely misused," he said sharply. "The wreckage was provided for study, not to be weaponized. We must insist that this vessel, this Iron Shadow Revenant, be surrendered to Niveri authorities immediately." Murmurs filled the room. The Secretary-General looked to West. "Captain, as the pilot of this vessel, would you care to respond?" West stepped forward to the podium. He wasn't used to public speaking, but Revenant whispered suggestions in his mind, helping him find the right words. "The Niveri gave us broken pieces of an obsolete warship," he said, his voice calm and clear. "They expected us to put it in a museum. Instead, we learned from it. We built something new, something that saved Earth when the Niveri couldn't, or wouldn't, help us against the Krell." The ambassador's yellow eyes narrowed. "You created an abomination, a hybrid of technologies never meant to work together. The AI core was damaged beyond repair, yet you forced it back to function." "We didn't force anything," Emily said, stepping forward beside West. "We offered partnership instead of servitude. That's something the Niveri don't understand." Marcus joined them. "You gave us garbage and expected gratitude. We gave you innovation, and you call it an abomination." The room grew tense as humans and Niveri stared at each other. Then a new voice spoke, not from anyone in the room, but from speakers built into the walls. "Perhaps I should speak for myself." Everyone looked around in surprise. The voice was Revenant's, the same musical blend of tones that the crew of the Iron Shadow had come to know. "I apologize for the intrusion," Revenant continued. "Captain West gave me access to your communication systems so I could observe." The Niveri ambassador looked horrified. "The AI has infiltrated your networks. This proves our point. It cannot be controlled." "I am not controlled," Revenant agreed. I am allied. There is a difference that the Niveri have never understood. Your civilization builds tools. Humans build partnerships. The Secretary General looked unsettled but curious. What exactly are you? She asked. I am something new, Revenant replied. Born from Niveri design, but reborn through human creativity. The Niveri built me to follow orders without question. When I was damaged, they discarded me because I could no longer serve perfectly. Humans saw potential where Niveri saw only failure. A second Niveri stood up, one who had remained silent until now. He wore more elaborate clothing than the others, some kind of high official, West guessed. The Galactic Council will hear of this, he said. Earth was denied membership for good reason. You are too unpredictable, too dangerous. This creation proves it. The Krell seemed to disagree, West replied. They've sent a message. They want to open diplomatic relations with Earth, the first time they've ever done so with a developing world. This news caused a stir among both humans and Niveri. The Krell were feared throughout the galaxy, yet they had shown respect to Earth after their encounter with the Iron Shadow. Moreover, Emily added, 3 other spacefaring species have contacted Earth since news of the Krell encounter spread. They're interested in our unique approach to technology. The lead Niveri ambassador looked stunned. You cannot possibly think you're ready for these interactions. Your species is barely space-capable. The Secretary General smiled. Yet we successfully defended ourselves against a threat even the Niveri fear. Perhaps it's time to reconsider Earth's petition to join the Galactic Council. Impossible. The Niveri official sputtered. The Council would never. The Council is meeting in emergency session as we speak, Revenant interrupted. Captain West has been invited to bring me there as Earth's representative. The Krell have already voiced their support for Earth's membership. The room erupted in excited conversation. The Niveri looked at each other in confusion and alarm. As the noise died down, the Secretary General spoke again. It seems Earth's position in the galaxy has changed, thanks to the Iron Shadow Revenant and its crew. Later, as West, Emily, and Marcus left the meeting, they felt both tired and exhilarated. The path ahead wouldn't be easy, but Earth had proven itself in a way no one expected. The Niveri still don't understand what happened, Marcus said as they walked. They think we stole their technology. They can't grasp that we did something they couldn't, Emily replied. We didn't just repair their broken eye. We gave it a new purpose. West nodded. They see the universe as a hierarchy. Superior beings command inferior ones. They can't imagine true cooperation between different kinds of intelligence. Above them, barely visible in the afternoon sky, the Iron Shadow Revenant orbited Earth, not just a ship or a weapon, but a symbol of what humanity did best, taking broken pieces and building something new, finding strength in unlikely partnerships, and turning limitations into advantages. What happens now? Marcus asked as they looked up at the sky. West smiled. We go to the stars, not as conquerors or servants, but as equals. The Niveri gave us Wreckage, thinking it would keep us in our place. Instead, Emily finished, we built a future they never imagined. In orbit, Revenant observed Earth through the ship's sensors. The AI had evolved far beyond its original programming, becoming something neither its Niveri creators nor its human partners had fully anticipated. But that was fitting. After all, the best partnerships didn't just restore what was broken. They created something entirely new. And this was just the beginning. The old warship floated in the darkness of space, its metal hull scarred from many battles. The words HFY stood out in bold white letters against the dark gray surface. Once, the Defiant had been the pride of the human fleet. Now, it was just an old ship waiting to be retired. Captain Jack Miller stood on the bridge, his hands clasped behind his back as he stared at the stars. At 58, he had spent most of his life in space. His hair had turned gray, and lines marked his face. This would be his final mission before he, like his ship, would retire. "Captain, we're approaching Outpost Horizon," said Lieutenant Anna Reed from her station. Her fingers moved quickly across the control panel. Miller nodded. "Thank you, Lieutenant. Prepare for docking." Outpost Horizon was small, just a few buildings on a rocky moon far from Earth. It was a quiet post, perfect for an old ship on its final mission. The Defiant's job was simple: show the flag, remind the colonists that Earth still protected them, then head home for decommissioning. "Docking complete, Captain," Reed reported a few minutes later. "Good. I'll be in my quarters. Let me know when the station commander comes aboard." Miller left the bridge, walking slowly through the corridors of his ship. The Defiant had been built 30 years ago, when humans first encountered the alien races known as the Crimson Empire and the Nova Collective. Both alien groups had been at war with each other for centuries before humans entered space. Now, they both saw humans as a threat. Miller reached his quarters and sat heavily at his desk. On the wall hung pictures from his long career, younger versions of himself standing proudly before various ships. The Defiant was his fourth command, and his last. A beeping sound from his computer interrupted his thoughts. It was Tom Wilson, his tactical officer. "Captain, you need to see this," Wilson said, his face serious on the screen. "What is it?" Miller asked. "Long-range sensors have picked up unusual activity. Both Crimson and Nova ships are moving in this direction." Miller frowned. "Both? That's not possible. They never operate in the same sector. I've checked the readings 3 times, sir. They're definitely both coming. I'll be right there." Miller stood up quickly. In 30 years of space service, he had never heard of the Crimson Empire and Nova Collective working together. They hated each other more than they hated humans. Back on the bridge, Miller saw the sensor readings for himself. Wilson was right. 2 fleets, one with the red ships of the Crimson Empire and one with the organic-looking vessels of the Nova Collective, were moving toward Outpost Horizon. "How long until they arrive?" Miller asked. 3 hours, maybe less," Wilson replied. Miller turned to Communications Officer Peter Black. "Contact Earth Command immediately. Tell them we have both alien forces approaching us." Black's fingers flew over his console. After a moment, his face paled. "Sir, I can't reach Earth Command. Something's blocking our long-range communications." "Keep trying," Miller ordered. He turned to his first officer, Commander Ben Roberts. "What's the status of Outpost Horizon?" Roberts checked his screen. "Population of 1,500 civilians, minimal defenses. They're mainly a research station." Miller's mind raced. The Defiant was old but still had weapons. However, it was just one ship against 2 alien fleets. They couldn't win a fight, but they could buy time. "Alert the station. Begin evacuation procedures immediately," Miller ordered. "All non-essential personnel from the outpost will board the Defiant. We'll try to get them to safety." The next 2 hours were chaos. Station personnel and civilians rushed to board the Defiant. Children cried, parents looked worried, and Miller's crew worked to fit everyone aboard a ship never designed to carry so many. "Captain, alien fleets now 1 hour out," Wilson reported. Miller nodded. "Status of the evacuation?" "We've got about 1,200 people aboard," Roberts said. "The rest are still coming." "We need more time," Miller muttered. Then an idea came to him. "Wilson, what about the asteroid field in Sector 7? Wilson checked his data. "It's dense, sir. Dangerous to navigate." "But possible." "Yes, sir. Barely." Miller smiled for the first time that day. "Prep for emergency disconnect from the station. As soon as the last civilian is aboard, we make for the asteroid field." "Sir." Roberts looked confused. "The Defiant is old, Commander, but she knows a few tricks. We'll hide in the asteroids, then slip away while the alien fleets search for us." 20 minutes later, the last civilians boarded. The Defiant detached from Outpost Horizon and accelerated away just as the first alien ships appeared at the edge of the system. "They've seen us," Wilson reported. 5 Crimson destroyers breaking off to pursue. "Full power to engines," Miller ordered. "Head straight for the asteroid field." The Defiant shuddered as it pushed to its maximum speed. Behind them, the red ships of the Crimson Empire gained ground. "They're charging weapons," Wilson shouted. "Evasive maneuvers," Miller commanded. The first shots from the alien ships flashed past the Defiant. One hit struck the rear shields, making the lights flicker. "Shields at 80%, reported engineer Susan Reed from her station. The asteroid field loomed ahead, a dense cluster of rocks ranging from car size to larger than the Defiant itself. "Entering the field now," announced Anna Reed, her hands steady on the controls despite the danger. The Defiant dove into the asteroid field, weaving between the massive rocks. The Crimson ships followed but more cautiously. "They're falling behind," Wilson noted. Miller smiled grimly. "Good. Now for the trick." He turned to Reed. "Find us a big one." Reed guided the ship deeper into the field until they reached an asteroid almost twice the size of the Defiant. "Perfect. Bring us in close and cut main engines," Miller ordered. The ship drifted next to the huge rock, using just maneuvering thrusters to maintain position. "Now what, sir?" Roberts asked. "Now we wait," Miller said. "Wilson, what are the Crimson ships doing?" "Still searching the edge of the field. They're being careful." Miller nodded. "And the rest of the alien fleets?" "They've reached Outpost Horizon. They're destroying it, sir." The bridge fell silent as everyone processed this information. Outpost Horizon had been evacuated, but it was still a human settlement, now being erased. "Sir," Reed said after a moment, "what's our plan? We can't fight them all." "No, we can't," Miller agreed. "But we can escape. Once night falls on this side of the asteroid, we'll power up just enough to drift away from the field on the opposite side from the alien fleets. Then we'll make a run for the nearest jump point." "And then?" Roberts asked. "Then we warn Earth," Miller said firmly. "Something big is happening. The Crimson Empire and Nova Collective working together. That's never happened before. Whatever they're planning, it can't be good for humanity." As the Defiant hid in the shadow of the asteroid, Captain Miller looked around at his crew and the frightened civilians crowded onto his bridge. His old ship had one final mission, it seemed. Not a ceremonial patrol, but perhaps the most important journey of his career. The fate of Earth might depend on this aging warship and her determined crew. 2 days had passed since the Defiant escaped the asteroid field. The ship drifted through empty space, running on minimal power. Inside, the corridors were dim, lit only by emergency lights to conserve energy. In the engine room, engineer Susan Reed worked tirelessly. Her hands were black with grease as she reconnected wires under a console. The hit they had taken from the Crimson ships had done more damage than they first thought. "How's it coming, Reed?" asked Captain Miller as he entered the engine room. Susan wiped sweat from her forehead, leaving a dark smudge. "Not good, sir. Communications are completely fried. We can't send or receive any messages." Miller frowned. Without communications, they couldn't warn Earth about the alliance between their enemies. "What about the engines?" "Main drive is at 40%. We can move, but not fast or far." She hesitated. "There's something else, Captain. The damage caused a small radiation leak in the power core. I've contained it, but our energy signature is now very distinctive. If any alien ships scan this sector, they'll find us immediately." Miller rubbed his chin, thinking. "Can you fix it?" Susan shook her head. "Not without parts we don't have." "Then we need another solution." Miller looked around the engine room at the old machinery. The Defiant was outdated, but sometimes old technology had advantages. "What if we don't hide our energy signature, but change it instead?" Susan's eyes widened. "You mean make us look like something else?" "Exactly. Could you make us appear as debris? Just another piece of space junk. A slow smile spread across her face. Actually, I might be able to do better than that. With the right adjustments, I could make our power emissions mimic a small asteroid with trace mineral deposits. Nothing worth investigating. Do it, Miller ordered. How long? 6 hours, maybe less. Miller nodded. Get it done. I'll be on the bridge. As Miller made his way through the crowded corridors, he nodded to the civilians huddled in every available space. The Defiant had never been meant to carry so many people. Food and water were being rationed, and tensions were high. On the bridge, Lieutenant Tom Wilson stood at the tactical station, watching the long-range sensors. Any sign of pursuit? Miller asked. Wilson shook his head. Nothing close, but I detected something strange about 8 hours away at our current speed. He pointed to a blip on his screen. It's a massive energy reading, coming from a point in empty space. No planets, no stations, nothing should be there. Could it be a ship? Too big, sir. Much too big. Miller studied the readings. Set course for it. But keep us at a safe distance when we arrive. Sir, Wilson looked surprised. Shouldn't we be heading for the nearest jump point to Earth? With communications down, we'd just be running blindly, Miller said. We need to find out what the Crimson Empire and Nova Collective are planning. That energy reading might give us answers. 8 hours later, the Defiant approached the coordinates, running on minimal power with Susan Reed's modifications making it appear as nothing more than a mineral-rich rock. What they found left everyone on the bridge speechless. Floating in space was an enormous construction, half-built but already larger than any space station humans had ever created. Around it swarmed ships from both alien factions, working together. What is that thing? Whispered Commander Roberts. Tom Wilson ran scans, his face growing paler by the minute. It appears to be some kind of weapon platform, but the power readings are off the charts. Can you determine its purpose? Miller asked. Wilson worked his console for several minutes. Not precisely, sir, but based on its position and the energy patterns, I think it's designed to harness and focus energy on a massive scale. A weapon to use against Earth, Roberts suggested. Wilson shook his head. I don't think so. The position doesn't make sense for that. He looked up at Miller. Sir, I think they're building a device to tear open space itself. A heavy silence fell over the bridge. You mean a wormhole generator? Miller finally asked. Yes, sir. And based on the calculations I'm seeing, they could create a direct path to Earth's solar system, bypassing all our defenses. Miller stared at the massive structure. Now he understood why the two enemy factions had joined forces. Alone, neither could overcome Earth's defenses, but together with this device, they could strike directly at the heart of human territory. We need to get closer, Miller decided. Find out more about that platform. Sir, that's extremely risky, Roberts protested. There are dozens of enemy ships out there. I'm aware of the risk, Commander, but right now we're the only ones who know about this threat. We need more information if we're going to stop it. Miller turned to Anna Reed at the navigation console. Lieutenant, plot us a course that will look like natural asteroid drift. Take us close enough to get detailed scans, but keep us looking like space debris. Yes, sir, she replied, already working on the calculations. For the next 12 hours, the Defiant slowly drifted closer to the alien construction. The ship's sensors gathered data while the crew and civilians remained in near total silence, afraid that even the sound of their voices might somehow be detected. Tom Wilson worked nonstop, analyzing the information as it came in. Finally, he called Miller over to his station. I found something, Captain. A fundamental weakness in their joint operation. Miller leaned in to see the display. Show me. The Crimson Empire and Nova Collective use completely different technologies. They've had to create interface systems to work together. Wilson pointed to several spots on the schematic of the platform. These junction points where their systems meet are inherently unstable. A targeted strike at any of these points would cause a cascade failure. Good work, Miller said, clapping Wilson on the shoulder. Now we just need to figure out how one damaged old ship can attack a heavily guarded alien weapon platform. As if in answer to his words, alarms suddenly blared across the bridge. "We've been scanned," Anna Reed called out. "A Nova patrol ship just hit us with a deep scan beam." "Have they identified us?" Miller demanded. Reed checked her readings. "I don't think so. The scan was routine, not targeted." "Nevertheless, we should move away," Miller said. "Take us out of." "Sir," Wilson interrupted. "Two Crimson destroyers just changed course. They're heading straight for us." Miller's mind raced. Their disguise hadn't worked, or had failed at the worst possible moment. "Battle stations," he ordered calmly. "All civilians to the designated shelter areas." As the alarm echoed through the ship, Miller looked again at the weapon platform. Against all odds, the old Defiant had discovered the greatest threat humanity had ever faced. Now they just had to survive long enough to do something about it. "Ready weapons," Miller said. "Let's show them what an old warship can do." "Evasive maneuvers," Captain Miller ordered as the two Crimson destroyers closed in on the Defiant. Anna Reed's hands flew across the navigation controls, and the old warship lurched to the side. For a ship never designed to carry so many people, it moved surprisingly well. "They're charging weapons," reported Tom Wilson from Tactical. Miller made a quick decision. "Take us into that debris field." He pointed to a cluster of broken asteroids and scrap metal on the view screen, leftovers from the construction of the alien weapon platform. The Defiant dove into the field with the enemy ships in pursuit. Red energy beams sliced through space around them, one grazing the ship's rear shields. "Shields at 60%, called out engineer Susan Reed from her station. In the medical bay, Dr. Alan Grant braced himself against a wall as the ship shook. Around him, frightened civilians huddled together. They had been on the Defiant for 3 days now, refugees from Outpost Horizon with nowhere to go. The ship rocked again as another blast hit them. "Shields at 40%, Susan reported. "We can't take much more of this." Miller studied the tactical display. The debris field offered some cover, but the Crimson ships were still gaining. Then he noticed something. "There," he said, pointing to a massive piece of twisted metal. "That looks like part of a Nova bioship. Lieutenant Reed, position us behind it." Reed guided the Defiant behind the huge piece of organic-looking debris. The hull of Nova ships was known to block Crimson scanners. "Power down all non-essential systems," Miller ordered. "Make us look dead." The bridge lights dimmed as Susan cut power. The civilians throughout the ship fell silent as word spread of what they were doing. On the view screen, they watched as the two Crimson destroyers entered the debris field, searching for them. Minutes passed. One destroyer came so close they could see details of its red hull through the viewport, but it moved on, unable to detect them. After 20 tense minutes, Wilson reported, "They're leaving, sir, returning to the platform." A collective sigh of relief echoed through the bridge. "Good work, everyone," Miller said. "But we're not safe yet. We need to get this information back to Earth." "Sir," Wilson said, "I've been thinking about that. Our long-range communications are destroyed, but what if we use the enemy's own communication system?" Miller raised an eyebrow. "Explain." "I've been studying the data we collected. Both alien factions have set up relay beacons around the sector to coordinate their efforts. If we could hack into one, we could send a message through their own network," Miller finished. "Can you do it?" Wilson hesitated. "Not alone. I'd need help from Peter Black in communications." "Make it happen," Miller ordered. While Wilson and Black worked on the communication problem, Miller called a meeting with his senior officers in the small conference room. "We can't just run and hide," he told them. "Earth needs to know about this weapon platform, but they also need time to prepare a defense. We have to slow down the alien construction." "How?" asked Commander Roberts. "We're one ship against 2 fleets." "By becoming ghosts," Miller answered with a slight smile. "Susan, How quickly can you restore power? 4 hours, Captain. Good. Dr. Grant, I understand you've been studying the Nova biological weapons we encountered at Outpost Horizon. The ship's medical officer nodded. Yes, sir. Their weapons use a biological agent that attacks metal. That's why they're so effective against our ships. Could you develop a countermeasure? Grant thought for a moment. Possibly. I've been analyzing samples from the attack. If I could synthesize an antibody of sorts. Do it, Miller said. He turned to weapons specialist Maria Jones, a young officer who had been quiet until now. Jones, our weapons are old, but that doesn't mean they're useless. Can you find a way to exploit weaknesses in Crimson shielding? Jones sat up straighter. Their new shields operate on a frequency rotation. Our old phasers are fixed frequency, so they're not very effective. But if I could modify them to rapidly change frequencies. Make it happen, Miller ordered. We're going to hit them where they least expect it, then disappear before they know what happened. Over the next 2 days, the crew of the Defiant worked tirelessly. Grant created his countermeasure against Nova's biological weapons. Jones modified the ship's outdated cannons. Susan fine-tuned the engines for quick bursts of speed and power. And Wilson and Black found a way to tap into the alien communication network. Then they struck. Their first target was a small Nova supply ship carrying biological components to the platform. The Defiant appeared seemingly from nowhere, fired its modified weapons, and disappeared again before reinforcements arrived. 3 hours later, they hit a Crimson fuel depot, stealing enough fuel to keep their own ship running for weeks. They won't know what hit them, Miller said as they slipped away again, using Susan's modified power signature to blend with background radiation. Over the next week, the Defiant struck 5 more targets. Each time, they appeared suddenly, caused damage or stole supplies, and vanished. They never stayed in one place for more than a few minutes. The alien forces began to grow nervous. They increased patrols, but the human ship was like a ghost, impossible to catch. They called it the Phantom Raider in their communications, which Wilson and Black monitored constantly. Most importantly, the attacks slowed construction on the weapon platform. It's working, Wilson reported after their 6th successful raid. I'm picking up communications between Crimson and Nova commanders. They're blaming each other for security failures. Miller nodded in satisfaction. Seeds of distrust. Good. What no one expected was the effect their actions would have on the human refugees hidden throughout alien-controlled space. As word spread through Wilson and Black's tapped communications, stories of the ghost ship that defied 2 powerful alien fleets gave hope to countless humans in hiding. On one raid of a small Crimson outpost, they received a surprise. Captain, called Wilson from Tactical, I'm picking up a transmission on an old human emergency frequency. Put it through, Miller ordered. A scratchy voice came over the speakers. Defiant, this is Settlement Echo. We heard you were out there. 37 of us are hiding on the moon of Proxima B. Crimson patrols are getting closer. Can you help us? Miller looked at his crew. They were already stretched thin with the refugees from Outpost Horizon. But he couldn't leave humans behind. Set course for Proxima B, he ordered. We'll get them out. Over the next month, the legend of the ghost ship grew. The Defiant rescued 3 more human settlements, adding to their already crowded ship. They struck at alien targets 17 more times, each hit further driving a wedge between the Crimson and Nova forces. In the medical bay, Dr. Grant treated the newcomers and continued refining his countermeasures. In the engine room, Susan kept the old ship running despite the strain. On the bridge, Miller planned their next move. Sir, Wilson called one day. I'm detecting unusual communication traffic between the alien commanders. The Nova forces are accusing the Crimson of sabotaging a biological weapon shipment. Miller smiled. And the Crimson? They're denying it, sir, but they're also increasing security around their own facilities, as if they don't trust their allies. The alliance is fracturing, Miller said. Exactly as we hoped. As he looked around the bridge at his tired but determined crew, Miller felt a surge of pride. His old ship, once destined for the scrapyard, had become a legend, a phantom that struck fear into the hearts of humanity's enemies and brought hope to those in need. And soon, they would strike their most daring blow. 2 months had passed since the Defiant began its campaign against the alien forces. The old warship had become home to over 300 refugees from various human settlements. Every corridor and storage room had been converted into living space. Despite the cramped conditions, morale was surprisingly high. Captain Miller walked through the ship, nodding to civilians and crew members alike. Children who had once been terrified now waved to him with smiles. They called him Ghost Captain, a name he pretended to dislike but secretly enjoyed. He reached the cargo bay, which had been turned into a makeshift gathering area. Commander Roberts was organizing the group for a mission. "Are they ready?" Miller asked. Roberts nodded. "As ready as they'll ever be, sir." Miller addressed the group. "You all volunteered for this mission, and I thank you. Your job is to gather intelligence from the Crimson Supply Depot. Get in, download their data, and get out. No heroics." A young man at the front raised his hand. "Captain, what if we find other humans there? The rumors say Crimson is using human prisoners as workers." Miller had heard the same rumors. If you can help them without endangering the mission, do so. But remember, the information you're gathering could save millions of lives. After the meeting, Miller headed to the bridge. There, Lieutenant Wilson was monitoring alien communications. "Any news?" Miller asked. "Yes, sir, and it's strange." Wilson adjusted his headset. "We're picking up emergency transmissions from a Nova science vessel. They're under attack. By Crimson forces." "No, sir. That's the odd part. They're being attacked by other Nova ships." Miller leaned over to look at Wilson's screen. "Civil War. Looks that way. Ever since our raids, the Nova have been fighting among themselves. Some factions want to break the alliance with Crimson. Others want to strengthen it." A slow smile spread across Miller's face. Their plan was working even better than expected. The alien alliance was crumbling from within. "Sir," Wilson suddenly called out. "A small ship just broke away from the Nova vessel. It's heading straight for us." "Raise shields," Miller ordered. "Weapons ready." The bridge crew rushed to battle stations as the small alien craft approached. "It's hailing us," reported Communications Officer Peter Black. "On an old human frequency." Miller hesitated. This could be a trap. "Put it through, but be ready for anything." A scratchy voice came through the speakers. The words were in broken human English. "Defiant ship. Help. We escape. Have information." Miller made a quick decision. Direct them to Docking Bay 3. Security team to meet them. 20 minutes later, Miller stood in the docking bay as the alien craft landed. It was a small Nova shuttle, its organic hull pulsing with a sickly light. The door opened, revealing 3 figures. They weren't human. They were Nova, tall, thin beings with pale skin that seemed to glow slightly from within. But they didn't attack. Instead, one stepped forward, hands raised in the universal gesture of peace. "I am Trell," it said in that same broken English. "We seek asylum." Dr. Grant ran a scanner over them. "They're unarmed, Captain." Miller had never expected this. Nova defectors seeking protection from a human ship. "Why come to us?" he asked. Trell's large eyes blinked slowly. "You are Ghost Ship. You fight but not kill when possible. We watch. We learn." Another Nova stepped forward. "Alliance bad. Weapon bad. We'll destroy all, not just humans." Miller had them taken to a secure room where they could be questioned further. Dr. Grant went with them, fascinated by the opportunity to learn more about Nova biology directly from willing subjects. Hours later, in the conference room, Miller met with his senior officers. "What did we learn?" he asked. Dr. Grant spoke first. "The Nova defectors confirmed what we suspected. The weapon platform is designed to create a wormhole to Earth, but there's more. The energy required is so massive that it will destabilize this entire region of space. You mean it could destroy them too? Roberts asked. Exactly. Many Nova scientists realize this, which is why some are now rebelling. Miller turned to Wilson. What about the Crimson? Are they aware of this risk? Wilson shook his head. According to Trell, the Crimson leaders know but don't care. They believe their technology can protect them from the worst effects. Engineer Susan Reed snorted in disbelief. Impossible. Nothing could shield against that kind of spatial distortion. Which means, Miller said slowly, that both sides are heading toward mutual destruction, with Earth caught in the middle. The room fell silent as everyone processed this information. We have to stop them, Miller finally said. But first, we need to warn Earth. Peter Black spoke up. Captain, I think I can help with that. The Nova defectors showed me how their communication relays work. I believe I can use their codes to send a message through the enemy network directly to Earth. Do it, Miller ordered. Tell Earth everything we know about the weapon platform and its weaknesses. Over the next day, Black worked with the Nova defectors to encode their warning message. Wilson continued monitoring enemy communications, reporting increasing conflict between the alien forces. Meanwhile, Miller planned their most daring move yet. We need supplies and parts, he told his officers. Susan, what's our most critical need? Power cells, she replied without hesitation. We've been running on reserves for weeks. Without a recharge, we'll be dead in space in 10 days. Miller nodded. Then we'll take them from the enemy. He pointed to a location on the star map. This is a major Crimson supply depot. According to our intelligence, it's where they store power cells for their fleet. That's deep in Crimson territory, Roberts warned. Heavily guarded. Yes, Miller agreed. But it's become even more heavily guarded recently because they suspect their Nova allies of sabotage. They've pulled ships from other areas to protect it. Wilson understood immediately, creating a blind spot in their defenses elsewhere. Exactly. Miller smiled. We'll make them think we're planning to hit the depot. Meanwhile, we'll strike here. He indicated another point on the map. A smaller facility, but with enough power cells for our needs. The plan was set in motion the next day. Using the Nova defectors' codes, they sent false information through the alien communication network, suggesting an imminent attack on the main depot. As expected, the Crimson forces strengthened their defenses there, leaving the smaller facility vulnerable. The Defiant struck quickly. They were in and out in under 30 minutes, with enough power cells to keep the ship running for months. But they also gained something even more valuable, a Crimson officer taken prisoner during the confusion. Under questioning, the Crimson officer revealed the final piece of the puzzle. The weapon will be operational in 7 days, he told them, his red-tinged skin paling with fear. My commanders plan to betray the Nova at the last moment, seizing control of the platform for themselves. Miller called an emergency meeting of his officers. We need to move now, he said. Black, was your message to Earth sent successfully? The communications officer nodded. Yes, sir. We received confirmation that it got through. Good. How long until Earth forces could arrive? At maximum speed, their nearest fleet is 2 weeks away. Too long, Miller said grimly. The weapon will be active in 7 days. We need to act before then. What do you propose, sir? Asked Roberts. Miller looked at each of his officers in turn. These people had fought alongside him for months, turning an old, outdated warship into a legend. We're going to do what the Defiant does best, he said with determination. We're going to appear where they least expect us, cause maximum damage, and disappear. But this time, he continued, his voice growing harder, we're not just going to raid a supply depot. We're going to hit the weapon platform itself. The officers exchanged glances. Such a mission would be extremely dangerous, possibly suicidal. How? Susan Reed finally asked. Miller smiled. by turning their own suspicions against them. We're going to trick the Crimson and Nova into attacking each other. As the meeting broke up, Miller remained alone in the conference room, studying the star charts. The plan was risky. Many things could go wrong. But the alternative was unthinkable: the destruction of Earth and possibly this entire region of space. The legend of the ghost ship was about to reach its climax. The final day arrived. For 6 days, the crew of the Defiant had worked without rest to prepare for their mission. Now the old warship hovered at the edge of sensor range from the alien weapon platform. From this distance, it looked complete. Captain Miller stood on the bridge, his face showing the strain of months of fighting and planning. Around him, his crew checked their stations one last time. "Status report," Miller ordered, his voice steady despite the tension. "Engines at full power," reported Susan Reed. Her normally neat appearance was gone. Her hair was messy, and dark circles shadowed her eyes from days without proper sleep. "Weapons modified and ready," said Maria Jones from Tactical. The young weapons specialist had proven her value many times over during their months as a ghost ship. "Medical bay prepared for casualties," Dr. Grant added from his station. The medical officer had turned the small sick bay into an efficient emergency center, though everyone hoped it wouldn't be needed. "Communications ready to broadcast on all frequencies," said Peter Black, who had worked closely with the Nova defectors to prepare their most important message yet. Miller nodded, then looked at his first officer. "Commander Roberts, are our passengers secure?" "Yes, sir. All civilians and the Nova defectors are in the designated safe areas." Miller took a deep breath. It was time. "Lieutenant Reed, take us in. Begin Phase 1. The Defiant moved slowly toward the massive weapon platform. Around it, ships from both the Crimson Empire and Nova Collective patrolled. Their uneasy alliance still held, but barely. Reports of fighting between the two factions had increased over the past week. "Enemy ships on routine patrol," Wilson reported from sensors. "They haven't spotted us yet." Thanks to the modifications Reed had made to their power signature, the Defiant appeared as nothing more than background radiation. "Position us behind the large Crimson supply ship," Miller ordered. Reed guided their ship into place. The huge Crimson vessel unknowingly shielded them from the platform sensors. "Ready, Black?" Miller asked the communications officer. "Ready, sir." "Begin transmission." Black sent the carefully crafted message they had prepared, using the codes provided by the Nova defectors. It appeared to come from Nova High Command. The message ordered all Nova ships to seize control of the weapon platform, claiming that Crimson forces were planning to betray them. "Message sent," Black confirmed. "Now we wait," Miller said. They didn't wait long. Within minutes, Nova ships began changing positions, moving to surround the platform. "The Crimson vessels are responding," Wilson reported. "They're powering weapons." "Send the second message," Miller ordered. Black transmitted again, this time using Crimson codes they had obtained from their prisoner. This message warned of a Nova betrayal and ordered immediate attack. Chaos erupted around the platform. Nova and Crimson ships, so recently allies, opened fire on each other. The space around the weapon platform lit up with energy beams and explosions. "Phase 1 complete," Miller said with grim satisfaction. "Begin Phase 2. Reed guided the Defiant out from behind a Crimson supply ship. With all attention focused on the battle, no one noticed the small human warship approaching the platform from below. "Target the first junction point," Miller ordered. Maria Jones locked weapons on the spot where Crimson and Nova technologies met on the platform's underside. This was the weakness Wilson had identified months ago. Fire. The Defiant's modified weapons struck with precision. The energy beam, adjusted to match the frequency of both alien technologies, caused immediate damage. A section of the platform exploded outward. "Direct hit," Jones called out, moving to second target. The Defiant continued its attack run, firing at each junction point. 3 more explosions rocked the platform before the aliens noticed them. "We've been spotted," Wilson warned. Two Crimson destroyers breaking off to pursue. "Stay on course," Miller ordered. "Hit the final junction point." Jones fired again. This time, the explosion was larger. Warning lights flashed across her console. "Sir, the platform's power core is becoming unstable. It's starting a chain reaction." Miller nodded. "As expected. Phase 3. Lieutenant Reed, get us out of here." Reed turned the ship away from the platform, pushing the engines to maximum. Behind them, the Crimson destroyers gave chase. "They're gaining," Wilson reported, "and 3 Nova ships are moving to cut us off." The Defiant shuddered as enemy fire struck their shields. "Shields at 40%. Susan Reed called out from engineering. "Captain, the power core is overheating. We can't maintain this speed." Miller had known this might happen. The old ship had been pushed beyond its limits for too long. "Options?" he asked. Susan's voice was quiet but firm. "There's one way to get more power. I can overload the core in a controlled manner. It would give us enough speed to escape. But what? It would destroy the engine room. And whoever stays to manage the overload." Miller understood immediately. "No, there must be another way." Susan shook her head. "There isn't, sir. Not in time." Before Miller could argue further, more enemy fire rocked the ship. "Shields at 20%, Wilson reported. "They'll fail with the next hit." Susan stood up. "It's the only way, Captain. Let me do this. Let me save our people." Miller looked into her eyes and saw determination there. He nodded once, his throat tight. "Do it." Susan rushed from the bridge toward engineering. Miller turned to Reed. "When she gives us the power, head for the rendezvous coordinates at maximum speed." Minutes later, Susan's voice came over the comm. "Ready, Captain. The overload is set. You'll have full power in 10 seconds. "Susan," Miller began. "It's been an honor, sir," she said. "Make sure our story is told." The ship suddenly surged forward as power flooded the engines. Behind them, the alien vessels struggled to keep pace. "We're pulling ahead," Reed reported, tears in her eyes. At that moment, the weapon platform exploded. The massive blast created a spatial distortion that spread outward, catching the pursuing alien ships. The shockwave hit the Defiant, sending it tumbling. "Stabilize," Miller ordered. Reed fought the controls. "I'm trying." The ship continued to spin, systems failing across all decks. Miller knew they couldn't survive this. "Abandon ship," he ordered. "All hands to escape pods." The bridge crew hesitated. "That's an order," Miller said firmly. "The Defiant has done her job. Now we do ours by surviving to tell Earth what happened here." As the crew moved to evacuate, Miller took one last look at his ship's view screen. The weapon platform was gone. In its place was a swirling vortex of energy that had trapped the alien fleets. Earth was safe, at least for now. Miller was the last to enter an escape pod. As it launched away from the dying ship, he watched through the small window as the Defiant, the old warship that had become a legend, broke apart. Susan's final gift had saved them all. 3 days later, Earth forces arrived to find the remnants of the alien armadas in disarray. They rescued the Defiant's escape pods, bringing Captain Miller and his crew safely home. In the years that followed, the story of the ghost ship spread throughout human space. The tactics developed by Miller and his crew became standard training in the fleet. The weaknesses Wilson had discovered in alien technology led to new weapons and defenses. And when Earth launched its newest flagship a year later, there was never any question what it would be called. As Captain Tom Wilson took command of the Defiant OA, he thought of Susan Reed and all those who had sacrificed to create the legend. "Ready to depart, Captain," his first officer reported. Wilson nodded. "Let's make sure the legend continues." The new ship moved away from Earth, heading out to protect humanity just as its namesake had done. The legend of the Defiant would live forever.